The Knicks lost. You know that. You probably should have listened to our full episode earlier today, but some weird things happened with the rotation in this first game, things that we were not expecting, and it seemed a little un-Tibbs-like to be this experimental in game one was something that we had never seen before. Let's talk about it right now on Locked On Knicks bonus episode.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome into a bonus edition of Locked On Knicks. Today's episode is sponsored by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Knicks hopefully your second listen today, but maybe your first listen. Whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in the sights and sounds on YouTube, we appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. Make sure you hit the auto download function on your favorite podcast app or the notification bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode, like a bonus episode like this. We were recording the main episode last night and then realized, like, man, we still have some things we want to talk about. So in particular, the rotations in this first regular season game. So we decided to take an extra episode. But that way, if you have those notification bells and all that set, you'll never miss one. I'm Alex Wolf, editor-in-chief of Knicks site The Strickland, which you can find Strict.land. And he's Gavin Shaw, favorite play-by-play broadcaster's favorite play-by-play broadcaster. And Gavin, I had something that was eating at me a little bit after this first game. And again, I'll just say, if you didn't already, check out our episode from earlier where we recapped the whole game, recapped the defense or lack thereof, the play of Deuce McBride and Jalen Brunson, how they were the shining lights of this game. Mikal Bridges kind of figuring his stuff out later on in the game and maybe looking like the hitch isn't there. Some concerns with Cat, all kinds of stuff. We had all kinds of stuff in our full episode for today. But Gavin, the thing that sort of stuck with me a little bit in this one was the rotations. It was a little weird. And I understand, we didn't really get to cover this, but so obviously we covered the Landry Shamet injury last week, which unfortunately for him led to him getting released by the team. Hopefully he's back at some point. Hopefully he's able to rehab and then maybe join the team at midseason or something, because I really thought that he was about to have a really good season with the Knicks this year. But, they also lost Precious Achiuwa the other day, which we didn't get to talk about. And I felt like that felt very early on in this game because it seemed like Tibbs had a very particular plan about how he wanted to go with this. And I think prior to Precious being announced for being out 2 to 4 weeks with the strained hamstring, the plan was going to be take Cat out and put Precious in early because Precious played so good in preseason that he kind of earned that to be one of the first guys off the bench to get Cat out of the game so then he could bring Cat back in with the bench and, buoy the scoring there and everything before you brought Brunson back in. And then instead it sort of switched to, okay, well now Jericho Sims is the first man off the bench, which was just jarring to me first off. But then secondly, Tibbs then takes out OG Anunoby next and puts in Deuce McBride, which also confused me a little bit because I would have thought the move there would be Mikal Bridges out because you would want the guy that could facilitate a little bit and create his own offense a little bit when, they started subbing back in. Like if he and Cat sub back in together without Jalen Brunson out there, you can see a world where that unit can survive a little bit on creating their own shot and everything for a minute. So let's just start there. Like the first two subs, did it jar you at all? Because that was the first thing to me in this game that sort of raised my eyebrows a little bit and made me go like, this is a little bizarre. And then we could talk in a minute about like Pacome Dadiet getting meaningful minutes early in this game too. But like that was those first two subs kind of made me go like, this strategy is a little odd to me.
Yeah, I think the thing I noted was how early Cat went out of the game. It was, let me see, was it 5:50 or 6:50? I think it was only 5.5 minutes into the game that he was checked in from 5.5 minutes into the game, Jericho Sims. And I think, again, I think you hit the nail on the head that this is all born of Precious being hurt. And if Precious was healthy, we would see something more akin to like the hockey style line changes we typically get from Tom Thibodeau and we got from Tom Thibodeau throughout the preseason. And I think just without Precious, there is just And again, with Dante and Julius dealt, and this is like what I talked about at the time of the trade, like you went from a team that had elite depth to being an injury or two away from having like pretty questionable depth. And as good as Deuce McBride is, like this team, at least on the scale of a group like the Boston Celtics, has somewhat questionable depth. And because of that, there has to be serious staggering. I think in my mind, like I'm not that you weren't okay with it, but I wasn't as surprised about Cat and OG being paired together. I think those two are going to kind of be paired at the hip all season, just because Tibbs wants OG is like kind of like, all right, when Cat gets a little crazy and he starts like roaming around defensively, like OG is going to be around to clean it up, and Mikal just doesn't quite have the same ability to do that. And in terms of shot creation, I think they're counting on Cat's like gravity to just make everything 20 to 30% easier on everyone else on the floor. So I think that's the theory there. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of different experimentation. Like the first unit we got was Brunson, Deuce, Hart, Mikal, Sims, which outside of the Sims part, like free Ariel Hukporti, who had an insane block in his 4 or 5 minutes of action, and it's just like bigger and like maybe even, which is crazy to say since Sims is like a dunk contest participant, like maybe even a better athlete proportionate to his size than Jericho Sims is. I kind of like that group. I like the balance. I like getting all three Nova guys out there with Deuce. Like I think there's opportunities for some beautiful offense. Defensively, you are like a little small, but again, against bench units, that shouldn't matter that much. I mostly just thought Sims struggled, but I think this is just all the cascade of no Shamet and no Precious. And when Precious is back, and maybe when Shamet's back, or Matt Ryan is the name we heard reported from Shams Charania that the Knicks could be interested in, it'll stabilize a little bit more.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if Matt Ryan is the guy to like just someone like that, if they need someone like that now. As much as I was just like campaigning for Pacome Dadiet to get minutes the other day, it was a little rough with him out there. You know, I think that he looked, particularly on defense, a little lost in this one. He was doing pretty good, at least in the grand scheme of things, I think, finding his offensive spots, or at least what could have been his offensive spots. He definitely was not at all factored into the pecking order really on offense. Like it seemed like nobody was even giving a second thought to looking to him like in the corner or whatever, which is kind of a shame because he actually did do really good to end preseason in that position. And
he hit the corner three late too.
Right. Exactly. Like in garbage time. Yeah. So like maybe that's something that, you know, it just needs to be earned. And, you know, they're making him carry the Hello Kitty backpack and everything, if you noticed on social posts and stuff. So maybe this is all just part of earning his way as a rookie and everything. But, you know, I think that it was, I do think they just need a little more experience. Maybe I was a little misguided being like, oh, Dottie looked good during preseason. Maybe they can make this work. Or maybe all he needs is opportunity, but that's not going to fix the defense. Like he'll need to figure some stuff out really quick. I think even faster than the Knicks themselves have to figure things out. You know, like he needs to get more to like baseline competency, and then the Knicks need to get to like elite competency soon, you know, to be able to make this defense work. Because in theory, a lot of this hinges on, you know, they need to have a top 5 offense this year and probably a top 15 or so defense to make this whole thing work. And preferably if you're going to be as low as top 15, you're going to need even like a top 3 or 2 or possibly 1 offense to make that work if you really want to truly be championship caliber. I don't know if Dadiet's going to be there this year. It was so cool to see him get minutes though. And you know what? I think if I were the Knicks, before I would go and sign someone other than waiting out Landry Shamet getting healthy, if you have any intel that like it could be like a couple month injury, I would keep trying Dadiet early in the season, because maybe it does click for him and maybe he starts to figure it out and can really put a run together here. Just in this particular game, I did not quite see it. Though I was very, very, I will say, pleasantly surprised to see him get minutes as early as he did and be the first. If I could have made a bet on like what Knick rookie will appear first in a game, Dadiet would not have been high on my bingo card, outside of the report that Ian Begley had the other day, or maybe it was even just earlier today, where he had said, you know, actually maybe expect Dadiet to have more of a role than you think this season. Had I not read that earlier to there when Dadiet checked in, I was like, oh man, Ian wasn't kidding. Like, there he goes. Had that not happened, I think that I would have been would have put the lowest odds on him showing up, even possibly before Hukporti, I think, if I'm being completely honest. But there's still a little more to talk about with this one, Gavin, just a little more rotation decisions and how Tibbs staggered things and all that, and just some final housekeeping notes on this first regular season game. So let's get into that in just a moment. But first, we got to let you know about our friends over at FanDuel. And hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with big returns on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's quite a bonus. And you know what? Last episode, all I was talking about was don't bet on the Jets. I can't believe that the Jets are favored against the Houston Texans this weekend. So instead of telling you who not to vote for, I'll tell you who to vote for. I think you should vote for Deuce McBride or bet on Deuce McBride rather, as the NBA sixth man of the year. Currently on FanDuel, tied for the third greatest odds, tied with the reigning sixth man of the year, Naz Reid, and only behind Malik Monk and Benedict Mathurin is Deuce McBride, but at a plus 1,200 odds. That's pretty solid. I think for a $5 bet, that gets you, let's do a little live math, gets you $60 on a $5 bet. That's pretty good. So like, if you hit that and then get your $200 in bonus bets, then you're looking at $265 that you've just gotten out of $5. That's a pretty good investment, if you ask me. However, this is not financial advice. Do not take me at my word. Don't sue me over this. This is just one man telling you who he thinks is a good bet. Anyway, check it out. That's FanDuel.com.
I also want to tell you about our good friends over at Gametime. I am obviously excited about the NBA being back. I'm going to try to go to as many NBA games as humanly possible this year. I'm also trying to get more into hockey this year. I just love like the sensory elements of hockey. Like I really get into being an East Coast kid, like how cold it is when you walk into arena. Just like the vibration you feel when there's a hard check into the boards. Like there is just nothing like it. And with Gametime, you can find the best possible seats at the best possible prices. And Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite team play live even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And it's not just sports. They have concerts, shows. It's everything you could possibly imagine. The separator for me is their lowest price guarantee. That means you go on another site, you find a cheaper ticket, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference, making Gametime inherently the best buy in the game. Gametime Picks makes curation easier to save you more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime Picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. You can create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, so let's finish up talking rookies. Pacome Dadiet is a 19-year-old at the end of the day. I wasn't as surprised as you were that he got in, just because they clearly needed a wing. And like we mentioned Shamet, we mentioned Precious. Like the other injury that I keep bringing up is Kevin McCullough Jr., like as someone who played 4 years of like the highest level of college basketball and was a star to some extent for most of those 4 years. Like I think he would have been ahead of Pacome in the pecking order. And I want to say, like, the guy we saw in Summer League looked like he was going to struggle in the G League. So the fact that he's out there opening night struggling instead against the Boston Celtics, like, clap it up for him, right? Like that is an extraordinary accomplishment. I think that was a steal by the Knicks. Ryan Dunn might have been more helpful this year down the road. Like that could end up being one of the best picks in the draft. The Knicks can continue to shine. What was it? Was it pick 25 again? Was it the quickly pick? I can't quite remember, but somewhere in that. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Alex?
It was pick 25.
It was pick 25. Yeah. So the Knicks continue to shine. Don't let them get pick 25. Don't let them get, was it 33 where they got Deuce? Don't let them get to 33. He is going to be a stud. I cannot believe how good the shot is. It feels like he is who OG and McHale are supposed to be from the corners. It feels like he's automatic from there. I am excited to see him play more basketball. I mentioned it before, but Huck Porty, I just cannot believe that this guy went 58th. I guess it was coming off the Achilles, and maybe he didn't show this sort of athleticism in the Australian League. But again, just his size and like athleticism alone should be like, I don't know, like pick like 35 or something. Like he teleported to block Peyton Pritchard. It reminded me, Alex, I have flashbacks to young Mitch when we first started doing this podcast. And we're like, wait, how did he get to that ball? It is crazy. And he's not a stiff either. Like he has a little bit of a post-up game. I can't wait to see him play more. Tyler Kolek made his first shot of his NBA career, which was a deep three. missed a layup, didn't get to do much passing the ball, like had 2 throwaways. But you know what? Good stuff from all 3 rookies, and not a win that they were all out there night 1 just because the Knicks were getting killed. But it was cool to see him.
Yeah, I do think that Hukporti made a case for himself, and I mean I don't want to say it's easy to forget. I don't know, like if anyone other than me is thinking like that he's younger than he is, but like he's pretty old. Like he's an old rookie, like, and he's been playing professionally for a while. So it's not. I mean, we saw Jericho Sims get minutes as a rookie in an emergency situation under Tibbs. Like it's not of all the positions that he's potentially willing to, take a chance on someone. It's more surprising they did it with Dadiet because normally with wings, that's a little more like sacred to Tibbs, like the wings and guard players. He doesn't like to put younger guys out there as much. The bigs, he's generally pretty comfortable with throwing someone into the fire early. So if he really liked what he saw to Hukporti, like we might see him, we might get surprised and see him be that first sub one of these days if Sims is not really playing up to snuff. Now, I say all that to say, like, I actually was pretty impressed with Sims in this game too. I don't want to come across like I thought that he was terrible or anything. Like, I think that some of the same limitations that he normally shows were there, and those are things that Hukporti might be able to do better, which was like timing on defense around the rim and stuff like that. Like just immediately first possession from Sims, he just overreacted to a pump fake and got like way up in the air. Granted, he gets like 15 feet in the air because he's a crazy leaper, but like I don't think he got called for a foul in that play, but the guy finished the play. Instead. But he very realistically could have gotten called for a foul because he like landed on top of whoever he was defending. It was just not fantastic from him. It was like good, not great. His offensive rebounding looked better than it has at times recently. He had 3 offensive boards, 9 boards total. That was good. He had 2 blocks, one that actually looked pretty good on Cornette at one point, which was nice. Oh, it was Cornette that cooked him the first time too, actually. Yeah. That was kind of revenge. Yeah. Like Cornette cooked him with a pump fake, and then next time or 2 times down or something, Sims blocked his shot, which was nice to see. But I'm kind of with you. I think of all the rookies, like I think Dadiet, maybe if they make a depth signing, fades into the background a little sooner than later and starts getting some reps in the G League. Though I'm glad to see him get some NBA reps in the meantime. But Hukporti might be a guy that they have to sort of finagle the roster for a little bit and potentially entertain the possibility of switching him over from that 2-way deal sooner than later, because he might kind of take that Sim spot and become that sort of emergency third big, or for the time being backup big that the Knicks need right now.
Yeah, look, the bottom line is the Knicks like to play the style they played the last few years. And I know they don't totally, part of getting Towns is that you're going away from that style to something with a higher ceiling. Like they need a really big body in front of the rim. Like only, you mentioned Jericho, 3 offensive rebounds, the entire rest of the Knicks team, 2 offensive rebounds total. And one of them was campaign. While the Celtics had 11, like that is the one area where the Knicks could get an advantage back on the Celtics these past few years. And now that's gone. They do not have that anymore. So, Hukporti, obviously Jericho was good at it. I think Hukporti long-term, just because of his size and because of his jumping ability, might be even better. Like, especially like if Mitchell Robinson takes him under his wing and says like, hey, like, let's go. I'm introducing you to meet the bus driver, Mark Berman. He's going to teach us a thing or two. I'm imagining like a Rocky, like Berman's Miyagi in this. I'm mixing my analogies. Karate Kid, Berman's Miyagi in this scenario, but we'll figure it out. The point is, I think Hukporti has a higher ceiling than Jericho Sims, and I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him play a whole bunch. That offensive rebounding that was an ugly number. That was part of the reason the Celtics separated in the second quarter, where they got rebound after rebound. I know Sims' final rebounding numbers were good, but there were a bunch of times where he and other Knicks were guilty of not hustling to the ball or not boxing out. Alex, I'm about tapped out on what was a rough night of Knicks basketball. Do you have anything to give before we wrap up the second episode?
Nope, that's it. I think this wraps up this bonus edition of Locked On Knicks. Thank you all. If you listen to both episodes again, though, I'll remind this is just the extra stuff that we couldn't talk about in the first episode because we were running a little long. So be sure to go check that out if you didn't already. And we'll of course have every game covered for you guys going forward, including games against the Pacers and the Cavs coming up soon. In addition to, I'm sure we'll have some more things to talk about with regard to what happened in this first game over the next couple of days. So till then, thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace out, everybody.